Kia ora, guys. Welcome back to the Black Jersey. My name's Max. I'm the host of this channel. And today I've got Rich from Rugby Analyst joining me for a bit of a discussion on what the Southern Hemisphere sides can learn off what happened up the north, the 2023 Six Nations. It was an epic tournament, but time difference. I couldn't watch every single game. There was, I think, 4 or 5 that I missed. So we're going to have a bit of a, interview, a bit of, analysis with Rich, discuss what all these northern teams are up to and what the likes of Australia, Argentina, New Zealand, and South Africa can learn from them all. Kia ora, mate.
Hi there. Thank you very much. First of all, you're coming on my channel earlier, and I was grilling you about the South, about Super Rugby Pacific, and now it's my turn. I don't know what you're going to ask me, so it's exciting.
No, no, it's all good, mate. Thought I'd better return you the favor after all the times being on your channel, eh? So first off, we definitely have to discuss England, your favorite team. Steve Borthwick's taken over from Eddie Jones. The pack was very heavy, which was awesome at scrum time. The ruck speed for the first test of the competition against Scotland looked really good. There were lots of turnovers won as well, but I did pick up on a few things such as Ludlam being a little hesitant to enter breakdowns. I picked up on things such as the fitness of the loose forwards. Don Brandt's tackle ratio wasn't quite 100%, but there are definitely still some positives to take away from England, like Ollie Lawrence getting back into form. What do you think that the Southern Hemisphere sides can watch out for, and what do you think England can, I guess, use to take it to their opponents from down south?
Okay, well, England's an interesting one. I've done loads of videos on England. They're a little bit short on out and out talent at the moment, I think is the honest answer. They tried quite a lot of newish players, and not many of them really cut the mustard. They started off against Scotland looking okay, but a bit unfit at times. Then against Italy and Wales, it looked like maybe they were getting somewhere. But when they came up against the big guns, they looked a little second rate. So, I mean, a few players like Jack Willis, Ollie Lawrence, they look possibly the real deal. Certainly pretty decent. But Don Brandt, Jack Van Poortvliet, Atoje was a bit off the pace. So they're not looking like world beaters at the moment. So I think the positive I take as an England fan is they can only get better, hopefully, and they might be a bit of an underdog for the World Cup. So that's the positive I'm taking.
I can definitely agree on Jack Willis. Like, if Curry was to come in at number 8, for example, with Laws at 6, I think that would solve the problem. It would give them decent turnover counts. Willis is tall enough for the line out. Laws is a third lock at 6. Something like that, I think, would really, really solve the problem. Ludlam's got a lot of power to come off the bench as well, so they do definitely need just a few more things to sort out. With Steve Borthwick as a coach, what do you reckon of how he's doing so far, mate?
It's pretty tricky for him. I will give him a little bit of leeway because he came in and inherited a team from Eddie Jones that was getting a bit older and a bit slower. And it looked like Eddie Jones was building England to try and be fairly basic, kick, set piece, the old English way, but without quite the quality to do it. So he was having to make a few calls, like bringing Don Brandt in to play every game at number 8, and he never really quite physically looked like he was going to mix it with the best. His young wingers could have really sparked, but Ollie Hassel-Collins never really got the ball in 2 games, and then he got injured. Arundel did okay off the bench, but didn't really get the ball when he started. So in some ways, he's a little unlucky, I'd say. Some would say he's not up to the job, but I don't think I'd say that. I think he's a very talented coach, but he's kind of been dropped in without much run up to this World Cup and still struggling to find his best players, really.
So on the note of Steve Borthwick, Rich, so I've said a few times in videos that he reminds me a little bit of John Mitchell and Mario Ledesma, talented coach, good vision, parachuted into the job a little bit early. Do you reckon that Borthwick fits I guess a description similar to that one?
Possibly. I think he was going to be an England coach at some point. He's crazy intelligent, really clever. I remember I met him when he just came to Bath, and he must have been 21, 22 or something. Um, and he was this guy that came in, and they made him run the line out, I think, very quickly. He was always going to be that sort of guy. Plus, of course, he's worked under Eddie Jones for Japan, for England. He's learned an awful lot. I think he'd be a good guy to build a team for 4 years. So someone to come in and have an immediate impact over 1 year or half a year, probably, maybe not. I mean, Eddie Jones is probably that guy for an immediate impact. So I'm almost going to kind of see what he does in the World Cup, but I'm happy for him to carry on afterwards and see what sort of team he can build, and then judge him after a year or two of building, I think.
Okay, that's interesting. Would also better talk about France as well. France finally took an L. Their losing streak was looking like it was going to start for a little bit before they started a win streak again. So France, do you reckon they're peaking too early, or this was just a reality check that they needed for taking on the All Blacks?
I would say they're actually peaking just right. Because at the start of the championship, I mean, at the end of last year, they were looking okay. The start of the championship, they really struggled against Italy. They lost, fairly heavily to Ireland. But their last two matches were absolutely stomping. They absolutely crushed England, just crushed England. And then another handy win over Wales. They've got their players. They pretty much know who they want. They just need to get a few more fit. And I think they're absolutely A1 ready, to be honest, with a bit more tweaking to their systems. I don't think there's a lot more for them to do.
Yeah, with the fact that they're always changing the point of interest across the pitch, the fact that whoever they have as the carrier, you can never identify them fully. The fact that they've got all those elements there on their side, how many points do you reckon they would beat the All Blacks by if they were to face each other pretty soon?
I don't know. I haven't seen the All Blacks play for a while, so I'd wait and see how the All Blacks look in their first couple of warm-ups, because at times in the past year they've looked great, and at times they've looked pretty rubbish, to be honest. So it completely depends what sort of All Blacks Foster gets together. I don't know. That's a question more for you, I guess.
I'm just nervous, I want someone else to give me a double check on this one because man, they are looking unbelievable. Something I've always noticed across French squads in history too is that whenever they actually have a settled squad where they know who's where in the pecking order, they do really well. Though Cameron Wokey's been injured, Pierre Bergeron's been overtaken by Gaëtan Barlow, Mohamed Hawa's got another red card, Anthony
Oh
Jalonche's
yeah.
done his ACL. Despite things like that, they've got a really settled looking squad. What do you think the fact that Galtier's been loyal to players has meant for the team overall?
Yeah, no, massively. In the past, France have struggled in tournaments with infighting, lots of bickering. But Gautier came in and he pretty much swept out the old team, and he's had a whole World Cup cycle to build this team. He's got a lot of players in early. He got Dupont in early. He got Intermac in early. A lot of these key players, and there's new ones coming in. Wokey, you said, Flamont's come in. Um, Demortier's come onto the wing. Ramos at fullback, kicking those goals. It's just building steadily year on year, and this is it. This is it. He's built it almost perfectly. Dante at 12, I think, was a revelation as well. If they can get pretty much everyone fit for that World Cup, they're favourites, definitely favourites. If they are on their game at home, I'm not sure anyone beats them, but they do have the odd dodgy game in their locker. That's for sure as well.
Just a bit of that syndrome of which French team will be turning up. I think the fact that they can still have that
Yeah,
odd game here and there.
a bit less than in the past, but there is still that error-strewn game where they look great for the first 10 minutes and then don't string any passes together.
I guess it's something in their DNA, but this is the best French team I've ever seen, so fingers crossed they haven't botched it. Now that we've mentioned World Cup favourites, we do have to get on to Ireland because recently, for the first time in the Farrell era, they were able to beat the French, though they did it at Aviva Stadium in Dublin, of course. But with this Irish team that I've looked into really, really heavily, as an England observer, what do you think of how they're treating? Do you think that Farrell knows who's where in the pecking order? And do you reckon they're potentially relying too much on Johnny Sexton at 10, mate?
Yeah, that was definitely a question coming into the Six Nations, and I think they actually got their answer this time. They put a lot of time into Joey Carberry, hoping he was going to be the next Sexton. It never really quite clicked, although he's not gone away. But Ross Byrne looked the real deal. To be honest, he's mature. He's almost a bit like a Sexton clone in ways. If you didn't, at a distance, he almost moves a bit like Sexton as well.
He low key does, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think he's the answer. And Sexton, I think, is injured now. Big question marks. Would he last a whole tournament anyway? So I think with Ross Byrne stepping up at 10, that's one of the last pieces in the puzzle, actually.
The fact that Byrne plays for Leinster as well, I think, is really
Yeah.
good because they have, Sheehan at 2 from Leinster, Gibson Park from Leinster at 9, Doris and Conan both from Leinster at number 8, Keenan at 15, who's also from Leinster. The fact that they're all club level teammates, I think, is helping Byrne a lot, eh?
Oh, they've almost got an international team at club level, basically. It's helped them for years now. The whole spine of the team is essentially Leinster, and it's just helps so much.
Definitely. With the Irish squad as well, over at lock, Ian Henderson did get a fair bit of injuries. Tyke Byrne, James Ryan, they're the first choices. With Ryan Beard getting a few minutes towards the end of the competition, do you reckon he's booked himself a plane to France as the fourth choice lock?
Oh yeah, 100%. Baird's going. He is a serious athlete. He's a bit younger than the others. Again, another piece in the puzzle. Henderson was always around, Byrne and Ryan were always around, and I think Baird's that fourth top quality lock / big six. Again, you were saying in my video how second rows who can play six are really in vogue now, and Baird's one of those as well. So 100% he's going. Yeah.
So you reckon we could potentially even see Ryan Beard off the bench in jersey 19 instead of Henderson to cover lock and six?
Yeah. Definitely. I definitely think that's a strong option, if not a preferred option, because I think he's probably as good as Henderson now at second row. Plus, he's that bit younger as well. He could play big six. I think, yeah, he'd be my guy on the bench, I'd say.
Okay, mate. No worries. That's all good. We'll better talk about their pool stage opponents as well. So South Africa, who are a very aging team, I'm going to do a bit of an autopsy on them later on, discuss the evolution of their squad, why they've got so many older players. Do you think that the expensive rugby that Ireland are always using with ball in hand, constantly shifting that point of interest, similarly to France, do you reckon that's going to be strong enough for them to beat South Africa again?
Yeah, if Ireland get their best team out, and what Ireland can do is they can hit the ground running, like you said, with that Leinster spine. They've been playing together for so long now. They can, like they did to the All Blacks. I think you might have remembered that at your place. They
Don't
literally,
remind me.
sorry, they literally hit the ground running, didn't they? Every single test, they were bang, 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 straight into it. And if they catch South Africa a little bit cold, a little bit rusty, they can absolutely beat them. And the Irish scrum is looking pretty good, with Porter, Furlong, Finley Bealham. So the line out's very good. So they can compete in that set piece. And if they get into their game plan quick, they're the favourites. They are the favourites.
So you do think they've got the power at set piece to challenge the box? Absolutely.
Oh, to certainly hold them, to not be blown away. I think as long as you don't get blown away, then you've got a chance. Yeah.
Okay, that's all good, mate. I mean, that is actually a fair comment about the box because I don't play the quickest game, so actually fair enough. Scotland as well, we'll definitely discuss them. So Stuart Hogg, the greatest Scottish player of all time, has announced he's going to retire after the World Cup. And Gregor Townsend is possibly not going to get a contract extension. I saw something in the media where he said that I haven't heard anything about selling, blah, blah, blah. So with those factors in the team, do you think it's a bit of motivation for Scotland to take it to South Africa at the World Cup?
Yeah. I mean, Scotland are in a pretty good place, to be honest. I mean, Stuart Hogg, what a great player. He's played a lot of rugby. He came into that Scotland team very young, and he's got lots of miles on the clock. Even for a 30-year-old. So absolutely, no question that if he retires at the end of the World Cup, he's done his part. as one of the Scotland greats for sure. Gregor Townsend, there's always been a bit of disquiet in the squad, a little bit, with Finn Russell, etc. But I think they've kind of made their peace now. He did that thing with dropping Finn Russell, then picking him again. But I think he's pretty much settled that no, Finn Russell can do whatever the hell he wants. This is our one chance to, really go deep in this World Cup. I'm not sure it's even Townsend's preferred way of playing, but that's his team, that's his talent, and in the Six Nations, you could see he literally ditched his starting centres, Jones and Harris, and he put in Tuipulotu and Johnson and Harris, and he put in Tuipulotu and Jones, who are much more attacking, and it really showed. I mean, goodness me, they were unbelievable in attack. So they're going all out. Any game involving Scotland is going to be one to watch. You cannot miss it. Whether they win or not, that's another question, but they're going to score points, lots of tries.
That's, I guess, why the audience still loves Scotland, though they do have a reputation for being brave losers. Even if they don't win, they're going to entertain the crap out of you. So it's
Oh,
no
God, yeah.
wonder that those Scotland supporters still back their team 100%, eh?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, what a great time to be a Scotland supporter.
Definitely, mate. So with the Scotland squad, similarly to France, this is looking like a much more settled Scotland squad than many of the squads I've ever seen before. 2011, 2015, 2019. They were all real mixed bags with a lot of older players without the real experience to go with their age. This time around, they're looking so much more cohesive, and he's really trusting the combinations built at Glasgow and at Edinburgh. Do you reckon they've got the set piece power, though, to target the box, or do you think they've got the attacking potential out wide to take advantage of the fact that the box are a little bit slow?
Similar to Ireland, I think they've got enough to hold their own in the set piece. I think that's what anyone has to do against the box. They just can't get destroyed. If you get destroyed, you're going to lose. So they've got enough to do that. The Scottish problem has been they've played some great rugby without being as efficient as a team like Ireland. Like Ireland would score a lot of times and Scotland would look great, but maybe not score as many times. So it's converting that attack is their USP. That's the thing that they have over a lot of teams, but they've got to convert them into tries. If they do that, they can beat anyone.
Definitely, they just need to there's just one thing I feel is missing, so I guess we'll try to figure out what that thing is after the World Cup happens. We'll get on to Italy now as well. Something that I noticed is they were always looking to get that wonder try over the line, entertain the Stadio Olimpico fans, but there was a bit of a failure to execute that Kieran Crowley talked about a few times. Do you reckon that's all coming down to the immaturity of the team, like not too many experienced players around, or is it, I guess, a bit of a lack of combination building in your view?
I would actually say the coaches have to take this on the chin a little bit here because they attack from deep. So off kickoffs, they'll do some crazy runarounds, blind passes almost every time. And then when they get into the kill zone, they also kind of go for that score a bit too early. So they're kind of overplaying a bit. They can do that in the middle of the park and in the opposition's half, but right on their own line after they've just scored, receiving a kickoff, I'm not sure. So I think if they just calm it down in those key areas and then play in better areas, I think they've got more big wins in the locker for sure.
I think they have the talents to beat the All Blacks. I do think they have the talent to do that. But do you think they maybe need a few more years before they can do big things such as that?
Yeah, I think that's probably a step too far. What they've got now is a good system. They're not just pulling in foreign-born players with an Irish grandparent. They're pulling in players from their system, from their domestic teams, and their under-20s have been performing really well for a number of years now. So I think they've got a good team. That player-wise, they've got the best team I think they've ever had. And it should get a little bit stronger year on year, definitely. But I think like you say, they're probably a few years away from really consistently challenging those top sides, even though they did beat Australia and Wales last year.
Do have to remember Wayne Pivac and Dave Rennie for those, of course, as well. With the Italian team as well. All these comparisons to the Sergio Parise era. Oh, why didn't this happen when Parise was in charge? Throughout his career, I was never really a fan of Parise because he came across as a guy that was bigger than the team, like a David Beckham from football, for example. None of these achievements ever happened in that era. So do you think that a lot of that strategy around the under 20s has really changed the motives of the team going into a game? Do you think it's responsible for, I guess, more of the squad settlement that we're seeing? And do you think it's responsible, I guess, for a bit of the need to overplay?
Um, I think I'd defend Parise there. I think he was a fantastic player, and he kind of was bigger than the team because he was so much better than a lot of their players. Basically, he was an amazing player in an average team, basically. And now they've got better players. I think it's as simple as that. They've got better players. Their professional systems have had more time to bed in. So I think he was just kind of a bit before his time, essentially.
Okay. With Italy as well, and the All Blacks and their pool, what parts of their game do you think there are that they could use to upset the All Blacks should this end up happening?
Well, they got to stick to their strengths, and their strength is playing some incredibly intricate passing rugby. And but having watched the Six Nations, teams will kind of, what they'll do now is they'll stand off them, they'll let them play their passes, and then just stay on their feet, drift out, and tackle. So, have they shown their hand a little early? I don't know. Will they change up for the World Cup? I'm not sure, but I think teams will fancy themselves against Italy because I think they know what's going to happen. They just stand off them, let them do them stuff, and then smash them rather than fly up and get a dog leg. So I'm not holding out too much hope for Italy doing anything in that pool, I'm afraid.
Okay. We're now going to finally end this video off with Wales. So Gatlin's back, whereas the Wallabies have got Eddie Jones. So Gats versus Jonesy for the pool stage. Gatlin's gone for a bit of an Ospreys cohesion. They were looking really, really good with Reece Webb at 9 and Owen Williams at 10. But there's a few stragglers from the old era of Wales. Do you think that Gatlin's holding out hope for some players that need to go, or do you think, similar to me, that Gatlin's still trying to find the best possible mix of youth and experience for his team?
Yeah, I think they're in a bit of problems, to be honest. A little bit like England. I don't think they know what their best team is. I mean, like you said, Reece Webb came in and did well, but he's well into his 30s. Owen Williams is no spring chicken either. I'd say he tried some youngsters. Some didn't work out. Chris Schwinzer didn't have some good games, but the centres he tried, Hawkins, he looked really good at 12. And Grady, I think it is, at 13, looked really good. So there's some positives, but I don't think you could put down Wales' best 15 now. I'm not sure. I think they're gonna struggle as well.
So you think that after they got tripped up by Georgia in the end of year 2022 tests, do you think Wales still have the firepower up front to deal with Georgia though? Because I noticed that their props were looking particularly off the pace, and there's no real up and coming talent in that position. Do you think they're still strong enough up there to hold off Georgia?
Um, I think they'll beat Georgia. I do. When they lost to Georgia, it was kind of a mental thing because they were actually in some many ways cruising in that game. I remember watching it and thinking, Wales are looking by far the best team, but they never converted anything. And then they really took their the foot off the pedal towards the end and got caught. They won't do that again. They're playing Georgia. They're not going to take them lightly again. I think Wales are a better team than Georgia, and I think they'll beat them fairly well.
We were discussing the Fijian Drua a fair bit in the video that we filmed for your channel as well. With the Fijians coming in with all the power play they've got up front and the expansive rugby out wide, do you reckon Wales have got the defensive system available as well to deal to Fiji?
Not many teams have the defensive system to deal with Fiji when they're on it. I mean, watching Fiji in the past, they have this 15-minute spell where you think, oh my God, this team is going to they're going to smash them. They're going to win this game easily, and then they slowly fall apart, essentially. And so I think it depends on Fiji a bit. If they can keep their cohesion and their energy throughout the game, then they've got a great chance of winning. They always do, but they've never really been able to do that in World Cups. They always fall away after
Yes, we'll just
after
have
scoring
to,
tries, making you look silly.
we'll just have to see about that Drua cohesion that we mentioned at the previous video and stuff like that. Gatlin Becker's Wales coach though, and Eddie Jones in Australia. The fact that these two old masters are ahead of their teams for this pool stage, do you think that these two teams will be able to get a decent contest out, considering both coaches will have such little time with their teams?
I don't know. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're going to give it absolutely everything, no doubt. They'll be organised defensively, and as long as you can be well organised defensively, you can give anyone a game. To be honest, so yeah, I think it'll be a good one.
I'm suspecting we're actually going to see one of those games where it's very slow, not too many points on the board, but you're at the edge of your seat the whole time, eh?
Yeah, possibly, possibly.
Well, I think that's probably everything that we've got to say for this video, everyone. So make sure to subscribe to Rugby Analyst over here on YouTube. Rich is about to hit 20,000 subscribers, so make sure you get that all done to get him over the milestone. And make sure to subscribe to me as well if you enjoyed this video. A big thank you to my patrons as per normal. And cheers for coming on the channel, Rich. Cheers, mate.
Thanks, Max.
No worries. Cheers, everyone.